Um, as Sharmila said, I started two companies in climate tech, two for-profit startups. I also started a nonprofit, Greentown Labs, a community of entrepreneurs here in Boston. And then, another nonprofit that actually was the initial journey. So I have some experience in starting multiple companies. I'm not sure why I kind of keep doing it, but as I was reflecting on this, I thought about the journey of the first one, the main one that actually brought me to India for a number of years, and that's how I know Arjun and what a lot of the setup there in India. And I think I'll go and describe that journey in a way that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And then we'll talk about the second startup, how that's a second journey that's come out of it. So first of all, my name is Sorin. I'm trained as an electrical engineer, and I also have a degree in management and engineering, systems engineering from MIT. And this is actually where I first connected with Arjun. I still remember when I first met you, Arjun. It was in one of the hallways at HBS or something. We're trying to corner you, try to get you to come work for Promethean or something. So it's, but at heart, I'm an engineer, and I learned to kind of become a CEO. I was a CTO for many years. Now I'm a CEO of the new company. I've learned sort of management and leadership along the way, and happy to share those experiences with you. Promethean Power, if you haven't heard of it, is a company that's developed a cooling system that helps farmers in India preserve milk. And that's the problem that I identified and had no idea about when I came on a visit there in 2007. I'll talk more about Promethean, but that sort of forms the basis of my most of my experience. The company is now 15 years old, and it's still going, and it's going quite strong. But when I look back at this, I look at this as the entrepreneurial journey very much like a hero's journey. How many of you are familiar with the hero's journey myth? Have any of you heard of it? You can raise your hand, maybe Sharmila, like you said. The hero's myth is a sort of a common template, a common myth that you find in a lot of stories around the world. So if you think about it's the way stories are written, the stories of many cultures and many generations are written, is the kind of thing where you start a journey, you go into the normal world where you live, you go into the unknown world where you go through various trials and tribulations, you suffer some crisis, and then you're reborn, or you come out of those crises stronger, and you come back to the same place where you started, but a different person. If you think about all the classic mythologies even in the Western literature, but also in the Indian literature, are very much, they follow this journey, the hero's journey. For example, Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is just sitting around on planet Tatooine, doesn't know what to do with himself. A call to action occurs, and then he begins on his journey and transforms and becomes transformed and everything, and returns to the same place. Arjun, the story of the Jungle Book, right? Mowgli. That story is like Mowgli, lives happily with the wolf family, and then something gets him on this journey where is forced to go on a journey to back to human village, and then goes through all kinds of trials and tribulations. Lots of conflict with the tiger and everything. But they finally arrive. It finally arrives the place where he initially started. So a lot of these human myths are very much written like that hero's journey. And actually, the thing that I'm trying to tell you all here is that the hero's journey is the same as the entrepreneurial journey. Like if you guys look back at you're starting, or you've already started, you're probably going through the same journey. And I'll tell you how I did my journey in parallel to this. So my journey started at MIT. With this idea of using a solar powered engine to provide power to schools and clinics in Africa. And I just, I was curious about this. I joined a team of students working on this stuff. You see these solar concentrators. I helped build them and test them in one of the parking lots at MIT. And then somebody said, hey, why don't we look at India as a potential market for this. Africa, this was designed for Africa, but someone said, hey, India is a much bigger market, so maybe we should check it out. And so that was kind of like my initial, let's go to India and see what it's about. I had never been to India at that point. So there's a point in the journey where I stepped out of my known world and went into the unknown, places like India, where I had never been before, where pretty quickly we discovered that, what we were building wasn't really needed there. This is actually a picture from one of the meetings we had in India in 2007, where people are like, well, I don't know about this solar concentrator. It's just, can it cool milk? and we're like, no. It turned out that people want to solve a different problem there. And so we discovered that it was better to look for the problems, understand the problems before designing a solution. So right then at the beginning of the journey, we realized that this is about finding a problem and solving that. And that problem in this case was the dairy industry was facing a very significant, still is facing a problem with milk, collecting milk from hundreds of thousands of farmers. That milk is spoils because it's not refrigerated. The only solution is a diesel generator or running trucks twice a day to pick up the milk from villages. And so we switched into that path and started envisioning this solar powered chiller. Like, hey, because I was using solar power, as you saw in the previous picture, I was, envisioning we can use solar panels and run some chillers and pumps and things, and we can chill milk with that. Now, in every story, in this hero's myth, the hero's journey, the myths, there's always a mentor or a helper. Sorry, for Luke Skywalker's name escapes me. You know what I'm talking. Come on, Arjun, tell me. The guru that helps him. And in my case, I did have a mentor and helper, and that was actually the chairman and Yoda. Right, that's what I mean, guys. It's 1:30 a.m. here, so if I'm missing a few things, it's really late. But like my Yoda was this mentor and helper who turned out to be he's the managing director of Hatsun Agro, the largest private dairy in India, Mr. Chandra Mogan, who truly was kind of a visionary who saw the potential that this could do to transform his business. And he kind of embraced us at the very beginning. And to this day, I have to say, he is the largest customer of Promethean. And he embraced us, but also as a helper, like kind of seeing us when we struggle to get us out of those struggles. And so there was my mentor and helper. And I'm sure all of you probably have one of those in your journey. So if you don't, seek it because you need it. The journey always, the next step is a lot of trials and failures. And for us, the first failure was we built the prototype. We spent a year building it. We took it to Goa to test it. There's a milk chiller inside this truck. And, we tested it there for about 2 months. Being in Goa was great. Everyone would come visit us, but the prototype didn't work very well. It was not feasible. It was 9 out of 10 people looked at it as like, this won't work for us. Go back and redesign it. So back to the drawing board. Another year goes by. We we build a much bigger system with more solar power. And in 2011, we deploy that to in South India, and the customer, in this case, Mr. Chandra Mogan, the Hatsun owner of Hatsun, looked at it as like, guys, this is ridiculous. It's too expensive. This is too big. How am I going to put solar panels on all these villages and remote villages? How do I get those solar panels? There's not even a building that can hold so many solar panels. What are you thinking? So, at this point, we were now 4 years into the journey, and we struck out twice. And this was the point in the journey where you face this crisis, this death. And, if the journey is to continue, it would have to be a rebirth. So, if you look at this, I'm here at the sort of halfway point of the journey where we literally sat down and thinking, this is it. We've spent all the money. We've tried twice. It didn't work. What next? But luckily, there was a rebirth for us because the same customer, his people are like, guys, don't give up. This is really important. We don't have any alternative. This didn't work. Can you think of other ways to do it? Don't give up. They were really encouraging us, and I love the people there. This is one of their directors that helped us out to encourage us to continue, and we did. Luckily, we did have some money that we received soon after that, just a small amount of money. We built another prototype where we realized that the proper solution to this was a thermal battery, not solar power, but a thermal battery. This was the missing thing that we needed this to crash and burn in order to realize that the solution to this whole thing was not putting solar panels and rooftops to run compressors, is to use a thermal energy storage device, which is, here's a prototype of the very first prototype we built, which actually worked really well. All villages in India have some power, or most villages have power. They just don't have it 24 hours a day. So solar panels, yeah, are great, but they don't work so well in a monsoon season, and they can go for 2-3 days without sun sometimes. A thermal battery charges when the grid is on. It creates ice, and then when the grid goes away, you have that ice to chill the milk. And it was a beautiful, simple, and practical solution that we did not see at the beginning because I was so blinded by this idea of solar power. And so now the journey continues, and now I have another revelation, is that for us to really step this up, I have to move to India. So the challenge is not over yet. This is now coming sort of towards the back end of the journey. Like, how do I bring this home? Well, I stepped out of my comfort zone and moved to India. And this is when in 2012, I actually moved to Mumbai and then to Delhi, where I connected with Arjun and had a nice community of entrepreneurs there. But this was an essential part of the journey. And then pretty soon things started to come together. There were many other challenges along the way. I'm not going to, even at this stage, bad partnerships and, people that weren't stepping up as they should have, and all kinds of other things. But at this point, the major crisis was over, and we were just, putting one foot in front of the other. And by 2013, we had a initial production unit. You see this thermal battery here. This is where we formed the ice, and then the chiller for the milk, and the whole compressor and everything running on top of it. And so we had an initial production unit. We installed those, did some trials, and then a couple of years later, we came up with sort of what I call the final commercial design. It was a bit more fine tuning, and this was this is what we sell at Promethean is one of these milk chillers that chills. This is 1,000-liter capacity, and it does it really well and very reliably. So coming to the end of the journey here, today now, I'm coming back to Promethean with this solution, installed over 2,000 of these chillers. These are 5-6 lakh kind of chillers. Some go even 7 or 8 lakhs. So they're not inexpensive. These are significant industrial chillers that we've installed about 2,000 of them all over India. Each serve 30 to 40 farmers every day, come pour milk into them. And, with that milk, with those, we've chilled over 700 million liters of milk and completely avoided the use of diesel generators for this kind of, for this application of milk chilling. And then the final part of my journey is I actually returned to MIT. So now you can see full circle. When I left India in 2016, after things started coming together, I came back to MIT and I started teaching a class at D-Lab. It's a class on product design and development for emerging markets. Basically putting together all the knowledge that I learned in this journey, and I'm still teaching that class to this day. I really love doing it. It's now been 5 years that I've been teaching the class. So back to this thing. So if you think of it, I started this with kind of out of boredom, like I don't know. I guess I'll start helping these students. I crossed into this threshold, into the unknown, into this exploring this Indian context. Lots of trials and failures. Developed new skills. Had a major crisis when we realized that two prototypes didn't meet the need. And then we had this revelation, and finally I moved to India, started putting everything together. I returned from India as a different person. Now, and now I'm at MIT teaching this class. So I hope some of you relate to this story. I don't know if any of you kind of nod here. I don't see any faces here, but if any of you feel that your entrepreneurial journey is following this path, or you're on a sort of similar path, or you've experienced some of these, then I'd love to hear it. Anybody else? No one else.
Sorry, and I could feel your journey. I mean, I'm Ganesh from Fluxgen.
Yeah, Ganesh. Yeah.
That's what. So I mean, I've to a lot of extent the pivot or the ideas of breaking down and things not working, and then finally coming back and making the tweak. And for the fact that I've also been able to go back to my alma mater, Institute of Science, to teach at.
Yeah.
So yeah, could seriously connect to some of your
Yeah.
thoughts. Wonderful journey.
Well,
Thanks.
yeah, I'm glad you do, because this is sort of my sort of revelations. Like when I learned about the hero's journey, I'm like, seems a lot like me. Like that's what I experienced. And so yeah, now I see the comments in the chat. I didn't see those before, but yeah, and I was always curious, like how others if others had experience. So with that in mind, I'll wrap it up pretty quickly here. I'll tell you about the next journey for me is now Transera, the second company that I started in 2018. So now you can see I returned to MIT. I'm sitting there teaching a class and everything, and I'm like, oh, but I kind of get the itch again to start something else. I was just restless. I couldn't do it for very long. So here we go. Let's get on the next journey. And that next journey also has to do something with India. As you know, demand for air conditioning is exploding around the world, particularly in India. And this is actually a picture that a friend of mine took, and it was blasted all over New York Times. But yeah, India is demanding a lot more air conditioning. You need air conditioning to survive almost in this day and age. And so having lived there, I experienced that. And I actually have a story. I had a room air conditioner, one of those small air conditioners, a spare one that I had bought, and I gave it to one of my staff members, our maid, and she took it home. And a couple of weeks later, I asked her, I was like, "Hey, Hema, how's it going? How do you like it?" I was so excited to talk to her about this, how she uses the air conditioner. She kind of looked at me sheepishly, said, "Sir, we're not using it because it's too expensive to run." So, right then and there, I realized that, it's not many people can afford it. And it's, and that her experience is actually the experience of billions of people worldwide. They would, even if they had a free air conditioner up front, like she did, they still couldn't afford to run it. And so that points to a massive problem that's happening in the world. First of all, is affordability, but also the fact that air conditioners are also very, very inefficient. And why efficiency matters, if you look at the way, it's not so relevant here in the United States, where the total cost of ownership of an air conditioner, about 50% is the running of the air conditioner. So the electricity cost in India is more than 80% is the cost of the life cycle cost of the whole life cycle cost of the owner. The air conditioner is the electricity cost. You pay very little upfront, maybe cost, I don't know, 30,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees for an air conditioner, but the majority of the cost is in the electricity cost. So efficiency is really important. That's what we're trying to address. And then looking at this massive market where, and this is what I explain to everyone here, like in US, we might have 10% of the households without air conditioner. In India is the opposite, more than 90% or do not have air conditioners. So this is, a business opportunity is massive. It's not just India, but also Indonesia, Brazil, and other hot and tropical countries. So, and then our sort of approach to this is that air conditioners haven't fundamentally changed since they were invented. You can look at a 1950s air conditioner and looks pretty much the same, works the same as today's air conditioner. The only change has been in the sort of the looks and feel. You got some connectivity with iPhones and things like that, but they really struggle, especially in hot and humid climates like you have in India and many places in India. And so what we're doing, we are changing that by introducing material science to remove the moisture from air before the air gets cooled. And that overall reduces the load on a compressor, makes the thing run much more efficiently. And we've demonstrated 35% energy savings and lots of other benefits that are important to people. So that is the new journey. Now, I think if I was to look at where I am in this journey, I'm probably just barely at the beginning of it. I stepped into the unknown. We're now doing air conditioning, and it's not yet India, it's still United States, but we're working with some unknown materials and things that haven't been proven, and lots of trials already, and probably more starting crisis, but I haven't really hit the wall yet with it. So we'll see where it goes. So that's it. I have a few other lessons that maybe I could summarize after I stop here and answer any questions.
Thanks, Sureen. That's amazing. Every time I hear you, I get very excited, and you are definitely one of my heroes. Thanks for all that you do for sustainability.